Bole Baba Ki Jai. Welcome to today to our Zoom Satsang. And today we're happy to have our guests who are originally from Sweden and telling us about their experiences with Babaji and how that's integrated into your lives and what did you learn from that. And so typically we start with just telling your story of how did you get there? You're all probably may have been a surprise to some of you, I know, reading Ganel's book, that it wasn't on her agenda. It wasn't on her bucket list, I think they call it.
Definitely not, no.
Ganel, would you be willing to begin?
Yes, yeah. How did I end up in India with Babaji? I tell you, I think it was when I was traveling in America, and there were lots of people that I was traveling with, and they all talked about this incredible experience they had. They'd met this guy in India, and it was all these really incredible stories. And I just got so confused. I didn't understand what they were talking about, but I could see there was something special because they were really radiant when they were talking about it. It was something that it was so special for them. And so I got into this situation that, I want some of what they're having. And so I just felt very, very drawn to going to India. I didn't know much about Babaji, and India was not anything that was of interest as such. But I just went there, like so many others I've heard later on. They just ended up going there and not really realizing before they were there what they were there for. So that's how I went there. I can't say really anything else about it. I don't know much about what Babaji stands for, anything. It never really was that interesting for me.
But
And
you met him in Vrindavan first time, right?
yeah, the first time I was there, I didn't go to Herakan. I went to, he was in India then. And so I went to Vrindavan the first time and met him there. And then he went to Delhi, I think. So we all traveled to Delhi. It was like, the pop star going on tour in India. And so that was all I had the first time. And then I decided I wanted to go back and I wanted to go to the ashram. And so I did that the year after. And that was 82, I think, so it's a long time ago. And yeah, it was, you read the book, I guess you know more about it than I do, because it's a long time ago and I haven't really thought much about it since then.
I can tell you a story about it. When Gunil went second time to Babaji, 82, I came back from Herakan and she was going to go to Herakan. We met in Delhi.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then Gunil came up there. Babaji wanted to go to Kedarnath. So actually Gunil was in Kedarnath together with Pujari and Babaji. You have met her before, Pujari. You and Gunil with Babaji in Kedarnath. So this was the story.
Yeah, no, when I went to Herakan, it was just a couple of days after everyone was leaving to go up to the mountains. And so Babaji said, would you like to come? And I had no idea what he was talking about, but I said yes. And then we went on a bus tour up in the mountains. It was quite spectacular. And it was, we went to temples in Kedarnath, one of them, and the other one was Badrinath. And it was really an adventure in itself, going up the mountainsides there. And of course, being like on a tour like that with Babaji was very close contact all the time. And in the end, for me, it was a bit too much. I was really overwhelmed with the whole story.
So maybe, Bo, you could tell about your coming there, and Ganel, as you just, sort of sink into some of those memories.
Well,
You
after
prepare more. about how it felt, when you met him. Some of those things are very interesting, but let's let Bo go for a while. Is that okay, Ganel?
Yeah, sure.
It was after this girl came back that she started the Herakambhava Center. This was the first creation of any kind of legal body for spreading Babaji in Sweden. So Gunnar started it at that time. I came from another part. I was since maybe 79, 80, I was more into the therapeutic approach for release and liberation. And so I was looking for different therapeutic alternatives. And so when I got in touch with Leonard Orr, the rebirthing part, then it was for therapeutic reasons. But then I Leonard came to Sweden in 79, and then I decided to go to USA for half a year. And I spent a lot of time with him there and the group. And every day, every time he spoke about Babaji, who Babaji is, what Babaji said, what Babaji, everything. So I became very curious about who is this Babaji. And so after half a year, I was back in Sweden, but then Leonard and a lot of other people came to Sweden, and they were going to go on to Herakan. So I quickly get the money together and go there, and so I came to Babaji in 1980 August in the monsoon, which was a complete drag. It took us 8 hours to go walk over the mountain in total rain. Nothing could help us. It was really, and this was my first experience of struggling up the mountain. But and I didn't understand anything about anything what was going on. But seeing Babaji was like a shock. It's like if I could quote somebody else, but my favorite asana was like this, sitting in the temple and being wondering everything what he did and how he and from my perspective, I came from body psychotherapy and had done for 5, 6 years, and suddenly there is a being without any tension or without any blocks or without any of this. It was, for me, that was totally shocking just from that perspective. Slowly I started to learn and open for the other parts, but this was my first impressions. So I didn't think that was really possible. I read about it, I heard about it, but now I could see it with my own eyes. And from that on was a change in my life. It was like the end of my search, you could say. The search for where I should learn more, not the end of my personal search, but the end where I should do my sadhana or where I should learn more. This was my first meeting. It didn't last too long, the first meeting, but I knew what I wanted to do the next time. This was the story. And I went back then in 82. This was when I met Gunnel on my way home. And then I stayed longer and just wanted to be really open. And still I didn't know anything. And at that time we were carrying stones. So I was learning to carrying stones for 1 month, morning, evening, morning, evening, morning, evening. And I learned really to love it, to find the meditation in it. We were building these walls for the farmers so their rice paddies didn't get washed away. But after a month, I felt quite ready with carrying stones, and I wanted something else to do. I liked cooking, for example, and there was a little tiny hut on the Gufa side, which was called the Italian restaurant, where you could get maybe boiled spaghetti instead of the ashram food. So I was going to go and ask Babaji if I could do another job than carrying stones. I did this for a month now, and I was not trying to escape or anything. I just, yeah, I will try to do cooking. And I started to walk up the riverbed, and I started to walk up the stairs. And in the middle of the stairs, Loknath came running down to me, and he said, Babaji tell you to be Pujari on other side. I said, but I was going to ask him for a new job. And he said, yes, Pujari on Gufa side. I didn't know anything what was being Pujari, but the rudimental thing I learned about the puja at that time was probably very important when we started the ashram. You know, now there are many to do the puja, and there were a few other doing the puja at that time. But I never had the idea that I would learn it or go into it or anything like that. So, but everything happened from there on.
Oh, just one moment. I'm hearing a background noise. I think everybody's muted.
No, it is my computer. You are the eighth person that complain about that.
Okay. Well, we'll just appreciate you. And when you're not talking, you can mute. But
Yeah.
your story is wonderful. I don't want to interrupt. So what happened when you became Pujari? You said that's when things really started happening.
Well, then I didn't know that I should learn it or why I should learn it, but I was put on the Gufa side. And then there was not one Pujari like now Gorihari, there were 9 Pujaris. So Lukira was the main Pujari, and then Gorihari, and then a lot of Indian guys, and then 3 Western guys. And slowly we learned to get up 5 o'clock, to wash everything, to do everything like that, to follow the routine, and to learn what it means, you could say. I didn't have any clue about that. Slowly I was learning. I just wanted to hang around with Babaji and watch this incredible being. This was, this was really the thing. I just wanted to be with him. And being Pujari on Gufa side, then you had to complete everything and you have to do your duty. Sometimes, actually, sorry to say, but we were hiding the puja material just to wash it after Babaji's morning darshan, come down afterward when people were complaining at us. But this was a part of the story. To hang around with him was the greatest, most fantastic anything. Of course, there are many stories around it, but this is sort of the start.
So I can tell you the opposite side of these things. When I came to Herakan, people came rushing down the stairs when we came walking up the riverbed, me and another woman, and people came rushing down the stairs, and they're saying, quick, leave everything, rush up, Babaji wants to see you. And so we had to rush up and get into Babaji to greet him first. And he was, from then on, he was so keen that I would be hanging out with him more than anything else. I mean, he wanted, I tried to do all the things, carrying stones, and I got a job in the office, and I wanted to do that. But every time Babaji was around, he said that I should be next to him almost. So, yeah, I wanted to do the jobs, and he wanted me to just hang out with him. Oh, I shouldn't say that, but it was the opposite to Bo, I think. So it's a typical scenario, isn't it? And of course, I never got a chance, or I never really tried either to learn all these rituals, because for me it was just a question of the energy that was there. That was what mattered to me, to just absorb what was happening, and to understand where he came from, what he represented, or any of the rituals or anything like that. It was it was not important, and it's never been that. I've liked always, every time I go to Sweden, I try to go to the ashram, and I like the singing, I like all of these things, but yeah, that's what's important to me, not anything else. And then, of course, when I was in India, or when I was in the ashram, I started to get very nervous, this attention I got from Babaji. And because I didn't care at all about the good things that you were supposed to do, I thought, to learn all the religious things, the rituals and so on. I started to think that he was confusing me with someone else, and that he would find out sooner or later and then throw me out of the ashram. And it just got worse and worse with his situation. So in the end, when I'd been there a couple of weeks and it was so intense, I tried to hide when he was coming. I did the opposite of everyone else. I was running away and hiding as much as I could because I was so afraid that he would find out that he got the wrong person. And it didn't help either, because Babaji gave me a name, and that was the same name as someone who'd been a lot in the ashram. And of course, as soon as I said the name, they said, "Oh yes, you look just like her." So I thought that was really adding to my paranoia about who I was and who they thought I was. So there we are.
That's fascinating. You know, so interesting what we as human beings think we want and need.
Yeah.
The divine.
No, and it was a whole story around all of these things, because when we were traveling up in the mountains, Babaji had this darshan in the morning, and of course it was really important to go there. And of course I thought that, yes, there's a lot of people and it will take some time, so I didn't hurry to get there. And I prefer to be at the back of the queue always. And so one morning that I was minding my own business as usual, they came running for me and shouting, "You must come quickly, quickly." And so I had to rush in there and past the whole queue of people and up to Babaji. And of course, when that happened, people started to notice me, and I could sense that they were asking, "Who is she? Why is she getting this treatment?" And so that really added to my paranoia in a sense. And special attention, I don't know, apart from I didn't like it. So there was something in there that really, yeah. You want something and then you go and see Babaji and then it's not happening.
Yes. I also had this in the same theme, but not the same story, but the same theme. Who gets attention? Who doesn't get attention? Who is he favoring? This was going in my mind. And for a while, I was thinking that he's not giving me enough. He's giving this, he's giving that, he's not giving me enough. It goes very quickly. One day or the next day, I was walking in the riverbed, and there's one of these small chai shops with stones there and this roof, and everybody's outside. So I wonder, why is this? I was looking in this chai shop, and there Babaji was sitting there, and nobody was in there except the chai shop owner. And when he saw me, and they were grilling these fantastic sweet jalebis, with sweet as any sweets, and I love those. And he said, "You like?" And so I made pranam, and I have to put this off. I love those. So I said, this is something. Now better? Yes, I love those. So I sat down and I made pranam, and he started to serve me jalebis, like with my hands. There were more and more. They were hanging, and they're sweet, and they were running between the fingers like this. And in the same time, showing off that he was taking money from his own pocket and paying the chai shop owner for the jalebis, just like the big show like this. And this was, okay, I get it. I was thinking, and then he was going to give me a smile, and it was always too much. It was like I was blocked. And then he looked serious, and he stood up, and he went out. And that was the end. After that, I never accused him of not giving. It is my receiving capacity which maxed out after 12 jalebis or something like this. It was a very special Leela. Very special. But that I never accused him again. It was up to me to open, and that was a story around the same thing, but different. So getting his attention and being jealous on the children who got the attention that didn't always like it, but sometimes liked it. One of the pictures up there is when Babaji is blowing soap bubbles with Lena Christina's son, who was 8 months old, like this. It's a beautiful picture. He could also blow soap bubbles in an extremely sensible, beautiful way. I was watching every move, you would not believe. Every move he was doing, how is this possible, this soft. And the only, coming from the body psychotherapy perspective, the only thing I could compare with his way of being soft with the energies in the body was babies. And here is a full adult with full consciousness, with sort of baby softness, or yes.
And that was one thing I noticed as well with like, not baby perhaps, but like children. He would change, going from laughing to angry, or changing his had very strong mood swings, I would say. And I noticed that, and I reacted to it as, this is just like a child, so immediate and so spontaneous, not any sort of filters on to like adults tend to control their expressions. But with Babaji, I thought he didn't do that. He was just there.
It was Malti wrote a new book, I Am You. I think this is one of the best Babaji books for a long time. And in this book, she described Babaji as histrionic. And I never knew that word. I had to look it up. But teatralisk, ni svenska som just. I think this was a very perfect word. He was histrionic. Everything, he played a play around this. This was fantastic. Even if he could play a silent yogi also, totally silent yogi. But he was definitely histrionic, but I never knew that word last year.
What does that word mean, Bo?
It's theatrical or something like that. I don't know an English synonym. I didn't know the English word, but it's something like theatrical, we would say in Swedish. He make a theater of something. He play out different people against everything. So I came there first time with Leonard. This, you have to hear this story. I came this first time with Leonard Orr, and we were the best, fantastic people in the world. We were rebirthers, and we were fantastic. So we jumped in 30 people together with Leonard, and remember, we had been walking through the rain for 10 hours. And first evening where we met, then Babaji said, tomorrow 10 people from Makan Singh party has to go. 10 people from Leonard Orr's group has to go. Shush. And we had a meeting in the hall. This was catastrophic. People were saying, oh, if it's like this, I will go, fuck. Other people say, I will stay, I've been walking over the mountain. And the third people say, I will ask Babaji. And I went into shock and overslept the next morning. And this was all these stories around. And then next morning, then somebody went to Babaji and said, we cannot figure this out. Who will go and who will stay? And Baba said, those who go will go and those who stay will stay. And for less than 24 hours, he smoothed out the whole energy, and only the people who wanted to be in the ashram was there. But there was still a big turnout of rebirthing. This is a rebirthing story. And some people said it was bad, some people said it was good. And before we went to the ashram, Leonard Orr had an audience with Indira Gandhi in Delhi, who was very polite but uninterested. So this was a pre-story of this. In the same time, Dan Brule, he came to the ashram and he was sent back immediately to Haldwani and say, you go to that person's house, that person's house, that person's house, and you make rebirthing. So he was first time in India to knock on people's door and say, Babaji told me to give you rebirthing. Some beautiful experience, some people kicked him out, some people everything, but he could not go back to Harakan until he knocked on all these doors. And
Bo, who is this person? I didn't hear his name.
Dan Brule.
Oh, Dan Brule. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was two other person also. There was a Swiss lady who was there and who was upset with Indira Gandhi. She didn't know how good this was. And there was a German lady in the ashram who hated rebirthers. Everything rebirthers was crazy and really bad. And everybody, and the Swiss lady wrote a letter to Indira Gandhi. And suddenly all these people was in the temple together. This was, tell you, this fantastic Leela. Suddenly Baba stopped everything and he shouted to the Swiss lady. He said, what did you write to Indira Gandhi? And she said, I wrote that the Indian people need rebirthing and people needed to, and he said, rebirthing is nothing. Indian people need food and clothes. Rebirthing is nothing. And Dan Brule was standing next to him. And he said, then how many people you rebirth in Haldwani? He said, 3 people. Very good, he said. And then he shouted to everybody, rebirthing is nothing. And this German lady, she got turned off. She didn't hear this conversation. So she shouted, Buddha Baba Ki Jai, rebirthing is evil. Suddenly everything is disclosed. And Babaji leaned to Dan and he said, you rebirth her. And everything this was going around like this, and to find out all the pieces of the puzzle, you have to talk about everybody afterwards. And this was in front of my eyes, all this. So this is
I also had a story of being sent away from the ashram. And I was working in the office, and it was announced that we were going to be a tea party. And I was typing out the letter for someone. And I thought, well, I'd better finish that before I go to the tea party. And so when I got there, I was a bit late. And Babaji noticed me immediately and said, you were too late, you have to leave the ashram. And I was totally taken back by this because I wasn't hanging around, I was working. So I thought that, that should give some sort of priority, but no, I had to leave. And so I left the tea party to start with, and I went back to the office and I explained what had happened. And they said, oh no, it's a misunderstanding. You have to go and you have to explain to him that you were working, then everything is fine. And so I tried several times after that to catch Babaji and to ask if I could explain. And he said, no, you can't explain. No, you have to leave. And that was it. And so I was absolutely devastated that I had to leave. But in the end, I got to this and I said, okay, fine, I have to leave. So I went back and I started to pack my things and get everything ready. And then for some reason, I just thought one last time I'll ask if I could stay. And then he said, sure, it's fine, you can stay. So it was no problem at all. It was just me having to get this idea. And what he meant for me was to realize that there's a time for everything. And it was as important with the tea party as it was to do the work. So.
And by the way, do you want to marry Hargovind?
Oh yes, that he said too. He said, all of a sudden he said that I should marry Hargovind. And then, yeah, that was, I actually told this story to Hargovind. And I said, that's when I realized I had to leave the ashram. Yeah, and well, he got it. He got it. I was just joking. I think he might have been a little bit upset as well that I saw that.
He liked the story. He liked the story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
We're lost in so many stories, and Mala have heard probably 90% of all these stories.
Yeah. That was one reason why I wanted to write down everything when I got back home, because it was something that I had to sort of keep the first impressions of things. So I wrote down everything, and I thought, well, if I start telling people, it's going to change every time I tell the story. So I never really wanted to talk about Babaji anyway, because it's, I don't know, as I said to start with, I never really worked out what the whole thing was about. All I could say was that it really changed my understanding of the world, insofar as I realized I don't understand everything. And yeah, that was just.
Gunnel was extremely productive because she started the Harakam Baba Center while Babaji was in the body. And then there were newsletters all the time, and Gunnel was translating everything and sending out by snail mail to all the members of Harakam Baba Center. And we got immediately, Baba said something, we got a Swedish translated newsletter. So this was luxury for us Swedes, I tell you.
It was also good to get everything and to translate things is to really read something, what someone can look at what the text is about. So yeah, it wasn't work, it was just fun to do.
Any questions? We can get lost in all our stories.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's what satsang helps. It's like we have 3 or 4 people, 2, 3, 4 people, then you remember one, and you remember the other, and it actually helps us understand our own experiences, which, like Anela, I think most of us are still trying to process this whole thing too, and going back.
Oh, yes. Yes.
But the beauty is how,
Yeah.
What you took from that, and it sounds like.
Well, I think it's like Bo was saying, that is something that changed me. And after well, when I lived in Sweden, it was easy, because then we would meet. I think it was once a week to do arti, and I could do that because it was so close and so on. But when I moved to England, I realized that it was quite an effort to go to anything. And so I just didn't do it. But for me, it's been that that's less important, although I really like the singing. I really like those things. But it's also something that, it's it's like something is not important to be so close to it, because it's always with me anyway. And yeah, it's it's nice to meet others that are the same, and in particular with the singing and so on. But yeah, I just had to adjust to not having the close contact with others like I had in Sweden.
I was really touched when you told me that you would be willing to do this, because it is different to hang out, to be with devotees and start sharing these stories again. And sometimes,
yeah, and as I said, that I mean, when I first heard people in America, when I was there before I went to see Babaji, it was something so radiant with them talking, and you could see they really had some deep experiences, and I was really that was the attraction for me.
When you say America, do you mean USA or Central America?
Yes, in USA, yes. I was there. Oh, when was that? It was 1980. It was when Reagan was elected president. That's what I remember. I was traveling with Leonard Orr and some people learning rebirthing. So, and of course, Leonard always had, as Bo said, that there was always Babaji somewhere around. And so people were talking a lot because they'd been to India with him, a lot of the people that were traveling with him.
and that's one of the beauties of this satsang that I hear from people, Ganel, almost every day, who have watched them on YouTube or watched it live with us later. We've done now maybe 15 or so. And they share exactly what you shared. It's like the radiance in people's faces when they start talking about these experiences.
Yeah.
Having
I
been
was like,
fed jalebis by Babaji, or having, Babaji, yeah, do these different leelas of sending you away. And also felt like, it helps you see that you really did want to be there, even though it was a little bit challenging for you, these different things that people's faces, you could tell that it was so deep. And we all that watch them, we feel Baba's love coming through your words. So thank you for being here.
But it's interesting, even my book that I wrote about Babaji, I heard stories about, there was one really strange one, that there was someone arrested in Spain somewhere, and was put in a prison cell because I think it was something to do with smoking marijuana, something like that, and was put in a prison cell. And there they found my book.
Thanks for reminding us. Thanks for reminding us. Marijuana illegal. Marijuana illegal.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, that person that was in the prison cell picked up the book and started reading. And when she was released out, she went home and she bought a ticket and went to India. So I mean, even reading about Babaji, it seemed to be sufficient for some people to go there.
But I was actually in India 2 years before, and I had no idea about Babaji. I was looking for great masters, or actually I visited Osho, but I became very disappointed. It was not at all what I expected. But I was looking and I felt some connection in the Nepali mountains, but I had no idea about Babaji. But Babaji was not so far from there, but I didn't know that. But this was my highest point in this India trip. But this was 2 years before. I had no idea about Babaji. So you can go to India and not know about Babaji, and then you can be in a prison in Spain and get to know about Babaji.
It's all our karma and dharma and the grace of the guru. We're so fortunate. That's great.
No, and I like all the stories in is it in I'm Harmony? where he's telling all these stories about people somehow ending up in India. And yeah, it's all these different stories. And
Harmony is written in North America. Harmony is written in North America.
Yeah, Radhasham, who is one of the founders of this ashram here, wrote that book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And he was collecting stories, wasn't he, to some extent, from people all around the world.
Yes, I had many nice talks with him. And actually, he told me he had an uncle named Wallström. I remember now. He must have had some Swedish ancestors. Anyway, he was great. He was fantastic. But it turned out, because, you know, I took the Arti book and I translated it, and I worked hard on it, and I translated it into Swedish, and I printed it, and I went back the next time with the whole pile about Babaji, and he didn't even say thank you, or he didn't even look at it. And I stood there and I expected some kind of recognition, and he gave me the little nod like this. Was okay. And then I read Radhesham that he went through, because he made a fantastic translation into English, and that he struggled with the same thing. This was great. This was really great to read his story. It was not only me. Anyway.
And how are you with that now? How do you understand that now?
Understand what?
The story you told. Your
You have to, if you give it to God, it doesn't matter if you get praise or if you get criticized. I mean, I'm not saying that I am there today, but I understand it philosophically, and there is a lot to learn from it. There's a lot of freedom in it if you really understand it, even if I cannot do it always. Sometimes I actually can do it, but definitely not always. But this is like a big part of the Bhagavad Gita teaching. If you do actions, you don't offer only your actions to God. The highest karma yoga is to offer the fruit of your actions. So you are not even, you can be as attached to praise as you are to getting not criticized. If a person do bad things, he get bad karma, and a person do good things, they get good karma. But you can also be attached to good karma. So real freedom is also to the results of your good action. But I don't know many people who are there, but I'm trying. But this is how I understand it. With the help
Yeah,
of
I can jump in. As a pujari, I was often standing next to the temple when Babaji would come to offer his kind of greeting or connection to the Murti and establish this connection. I was often taking care of the temple, and then I was having some wish that he would approve of my work, how beautiful I dressed the Murtis, or I painted the temple, or I put the flowers or the prasad. But the same, like Bo, you were saying, he is not into approving. It is just, we slowly drop this wish, but as a child, we are programmed to get approval. And Babaji destroyed that a few times very strong in me, until I could really see the same thing what you expressed. There's no need. It drops away, and then you do your duty joyfully without looking for that. But Babaji was not afraid to crush these patterns, and I'm very, very thankful to be able to be exposed to those things. And also, like Gunel, you were telling that it's a similar thing, that Babaji kind of looks like unfairly did unjust to you or something, did not really saw things correctly. I also have some moments with that Babaji would just embarrass you very strongly. He said, no, but that's not true, Baba, I didn't do that. But that didn't matter. He just wanted to crush some part of our ego. And the same thing, it's so beautiful to do. But how he did that, relating to the theatrical part that Bo you're referring to, and it's that Babaji was so magical, how he would playfully, naturally, childlike do that. I would like Bo, you can tell more about that beauty of how Babaji would move through the river, move with his devotees, this naturalness, like child, baby style, effortless way of mirroring us. It is still a miracle for me. I can't get enough of other people's expressions of how they perceive that. Can you share more about that?
It was maybe, but I was, I mean, small things. I saw him once asking Goradevi for a tops to clean the ear. Huh? And the way he was moving the things like this was, I'd never seen anybody do. This is incredible. But when it came to offer my strongest teaching around this was when I was carrying stones. We were building these walls. And, you know, I was young at that time, so we became quite strong. And we were like 5-10 men who were building a stone wall, which is about this wide, probably this wide, 1 meter wide, and 20-30 meters long, and the height about 1.5 meters. And Babaji comes softly down and he tells us softly, you move to here, 1 meter to the right. I mean, the stone wall was probably a couple of 1,000 kilos, and it was, I knew it was a Leela, but I was angry for 2 hours before I slowly figured it out. But I knew it was a Leela, but I was still angry, and it was good that I had the stones to work it out. But it was so, but it was for us. Huh? I thought it was so useless. 2 weeks of work, but that was not the point. It was not really the point. And he was, to us, he was saying it so softly, like he was asking us. We all knew that we should do it, but my God. Once he told me, he pointed at a huge stone, you would not believe. And he said, move this one, only 2 people. And of course, I went to get a guy, and I mean, we couldn't even move it a millimeter. But at least we tried. He was happy we tried. But it was like for 5-6 people or something. He wanted us to make the effort. He wanted us to make it. But for me, he was never like a general, like giving orders like this. When he was giving you something, it was into your soul. It was not, I don't know how to say it. It was nothing to rebel against, because there was no shield. It was all soft. How should I say it? It goes into your soul. It is still like that. It is still like that. He could be so soft. He would be so soft. But this has to be said also, that he did it. You share Pujari with your stories and sometimes, but it was also, which I see, very individual. So some individual he was praising like much, and some individual he was criticizing, and some he was harsh, and some he was all the time soft. And I had done my mundan, and then I was going to go and ask him again first time I saw him, but I did the mundan for 9 months before I met him even. And then one German lady was before me and said, with such a long hair, and said, Babaji, do I have to do mundan? And Babaji said, no, next time, no problem, like this. I was next. I said, Babaji, do I have to do mundan? He said, yes! Okay. 1 second like this. So it was not for me, but it was for her. So you could never figure out. He never treated 2 people the same. He treated everybody individual. And seeing it from the therapeutic side, this is magical, the magical therapeutic. How can you treat everybody individual? like this, knowing everybody. Imagine a therapist that comes to you and he already know your background and what you shared before in Herakam Pujari. He knows the past also and the future and many lives, and he know your last dreams, and you come to him and he treats you individually. From a therapeutic perspective, this is the most incredible therapist. Most incredible. And I have to share this. Then I unmute myself for a little bit. But Hari Govind was like psychiatrist, almost psychiatrist, but he went to a lot of therapy and psychiatry. But he said he was intelligent. He could fool and cheat all the therapists. But when he came to Babaji, he could never hide any shit at all. Never, ever, ever. And he doesn't have to say anything. So, and so it was incredible.
Thank you, Bo. That's great.
I guess I had the same experience of this thing. As I said, I got so much attention all the time. And that was one of the things that I was saying to myself, and I wanted to say to everyone else, it's just because I need this more than what other people are getting. And yeah, it was one of these things that I saw that I had to accept what was going on, but at the same time, all of my inner demons came out, sort of, and as I said, I felt absolutely paranoid that they would find out that they made a mistake, but I mean, throughout the whole time there, I think that I would have been very, very comfortable just sitting there and observe what was going on, but of course that was not for me. When I had sometimes when I really tried to outsmart Babaji and I was hiding in a corner of the room, I could see him, but I thought that he couldn't see me at all. And then, of course, after a little while, he got up and he cleared the room more or less, moved everyone away, and then he got up and he sat down next to me in that same corner. So everyone else had to turn around and see where he was sitting next to me instead. So I really had to accept that that was happening to me.
What did he say?
Oh, he didn't say anything really. I mean, he used to do this when he came up to me. He would really smile and you know, like, oh, I'm having so much fun. Oh, aren't we happy together here, and so on. And I just did not know what was going on. That was the problem for me.
How long were you there that second trip, Ganel?
Oh, it wasn't that long. It felt like forever. I think it was 3 weeks, something like that. But it was extremely intense because, as I said, after just a day or two, we went on this journey around the mountains, and that was really, really intense. I mean, up and down these horrendous mountain roads. And then that wasn't even enough. We had to then walk up to the temples, and we had one that it took us hours on a horseback riding up a mountainside with nothing on one side, and the mountain on the other side, and a very, very narrow path. And I don't think I've ever done so much repetition of a mantra as when I was sitting on that horseback, because it was absolutely terrifying. But yeah, no, that it was very intense, and so it felt like a lot longer than 3 weeks. And then, for various reasons, I never saw him again. I never went back after that. Well, I did go back to Herakam, but that was maybe 20 years later. So, and that was also one of these things that I can't remember how it was now, but for some reason I wanted to go and say goodbye to Babaji when I was leaving finally. And I never got a chance to do that. And I was thinking about that all the way home, and it felt like I was sort of sneaking out of the ashram without saying goodbye properly. And then again, you know, if you don't say goodbye, you don't leave properly. So that's how I felt in the end. Is there anyone who wants to ask anything?
I didn't hear the last sentence you said, Ganel.
Pardon?
I didn't hear the last sentence you said.
I just said, is there anyone who wants to ask anything?
Oh, yeah. So anybody with questions? Or want to share a story or something like that as well? Everyone's.
I wouldn't mind speaking. How Babaji encourage us not to be as pacifist.
Not to be a pacifist.
Pacifism. You know how Babaji didn't need that we must strive around peaceful. Yes?
I don't know which really what you refer to, but maybe I do. But
Do you not remember Babaji's strong message?
well, I was in the temple once where he made a speech, and then well, the way it was translated, it was even people who are preaching peace are mixing other people's blood with water. And I was thinking very much what it meant about this. I was very confused, but it was very clear, and I remember it was something that he really meant something about it, which was important. And the way I understood it is that yes, peaceful people are sometimes cowards, and bad people are sometimes brave, and all the good people have to learn, or the people with God connection has to learn how to work and be brave. This is the way I got it. It doesn't enough that you say that you are for peace. Many times he said, don't use peace as an excuse for laziness and cowardness. And he was not against peace, but he was against the misuse of peace. Not against peace and to be non-violent, but the misuse of non-violence. This is the way I understood it. Does it make sense what I say?
Oh yes. And I like to look at this word apathy in this context. I think Babaji does not enjoy apathy.
No, not laziness, no apathy, not being a coward. This is, he wanted to make us to be coward, not to be brave and industrious. This is the
Yes.
understand.
Brave is a good word. I'm feeling brave is a
Yes,
good word, even more than the word courage.
yes,
But Babaji spoke that atrocity should be noticed. There should be a reaction to atrocity.
yes,
So we could have apparently peace in a nation, apparently, but there could be a lot of discontent, there could be a lot of oppression, there could be a lot of exploitation going on, but apparently that situation is quiet, suppressed.
Well, I don't really understand it. I think this is a big issue about if you talk about the big society and like this, but everybody will not, when it comes to karma and dharma, everybody will not do the same. Everybody will not be militaries and everybody will not be good police, but everybody will do their thing, and you have to find out what is your dharma. What does Jesus say to invest your pound, or I don't know what is the English word, att förvalta sitt pund, hur säger man det, Gunnel? In English, you know your Bible in English? Anyway, you know what I mean. You have to, I mean, many ways to say it. Talent, your talent, how do you do it? Or we talk about dharma, we talk about righteousness. For me, righteousness, dharma, is the right use of what you can do. There is a wrong way of using your skills, and there is a right way of doing your skills. For me,
All
this
right.
is...
All right, let's look at it this way now. Okay, so we won't look at a region on earth or a nation. We look at a person. So a person can be behaving as if I'm nice, you're nice, all is nice, but actually inside that person can be a turmoil. There can be criticism going on of all kinds, you know, but the face of it can be as if this is pleasant, I'm pleasant, you pleasant. And I feel that is why Babaji behaved in the way he did. Even me, like, I'm given that choice by Babaji. How I react, what I'm feeling, how I'm feeling, what I bring. I've got that freedom.
Let me share this very briefly, because I think this is a big thing.
My
But
name's Diwali. My name's
it,
Diwali.
yeah, it is
Thank you,
great
God. Thank
that
you,
you
God.
are that you are inspired. But
Yes,
once Baba
right.
Baba was giving a speech from a psychological standpoint, and talking about the mind. And then he said, and he had only two principles. This is really interesting. He had the principle of remembrance and the principle of endurance. Either you remember God and then you're happy and inspired, or you don't remember God for the moment and then you have to endure until you remember God next time. And that was the end of the psychological lecture. And there's a lot to think about if you divide it in these two principles. I love his ways, his simplicity way of talking about psychology. Either you remember or you don't remember. If you don't remember, you endure until you remember next time.
I wanted to tell a short story about this idea of nonviolence. When I went to Harakan the first time, I was, I wouldn't kill even a mosquito that was biting me, or, it was like, I didn't think I should ever kill anything. And so, of course, I'm walking. I was near Babaji this time, and I think maybe I was holding his umbrella, and we were going up the stairs, Ganel, and the 108 stairs, and there was a large insect I'd never seen in my life, but it was pretty gross to me. But it was quite large, and it was on the stair. And Babaji, it's just like you said, he always made it clear what, in that sense, that he was teaching me. And he took his foot and he just smashed that with his foot. And I just thought, oh my God, Babaji, you're killing something. And then he looked at me as if to respond to my thought, which I didn't say it. I was just thinking, like our last person was speaking about, that we hold a lot in our hearts that we don't say. And he looked at me and he said, "Very bad bug, eat all garden." And so then I began to understand that you discern what is the appropriate response to a situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he was talking about. When I just sit back and let atrocities happen, then this is the misuse of nonviolence. When I see an atrocity happen, then I have to discern, what can I do? Can I write to my congressman? Can I sign a petition? Can I send money to help these people? Can I pray in the temple, remember them? You know, what is my capacity to do something to change that? So anyways, that's what I took from that. And yeah, there's so much depth in this conversation we're having, and so many different places we could go with this.
Yeah.
Good now. Did you want to say something?
No.
Okay, I just saw you.
Can I ask something? This is Pam.
Hi, Pam.
I wanted to find out what Bo and what Ganel do. What do you do now to stay connected to Babaji, or what is your connection like today? If you would answer that. Thank you.
Yeah, I can answer first, and that is to say that, as I said before, I don't do much, and I'm well, one of the things that I've come to realize over the years is that I've tried a couple of times to connect with the ashram here, and it's been extremely difficult for me. I spent one time I went to the ashram, I spent an absolute whole day being stuck in traffic to get to the ashram, and then I only had half an hour before I had to drive back home again. So when I came home, I said, this is just nonsense. I can't do this to have a good time with Babaji. There's something he's trying to tell me here. And I also, after 20 years or so, I went back to India finally. And when I got there, I injured my knee, and I had to spend the whole time sitting outside the dormitory in the ashram because I couldn't move at all. And so together it's given me this thing that, no, don't try to do too much. It's fine just to have what you have inside, and that's it. And so that's where I am now. And of course, every time I go to Sweden, as I said, I like to go to the ashram if I can. But that's it, what I do. But that doesn't mean that I mean, it's something, as I said before, that changed me forever. So I feel I don't need much more. It's like I've internalized the whole thing.
Well, I have the similar thing, which Babaji is with me inside. This I don't lack this feeling really, but still, when we do something here in the ashram, we don't have a full program going on all the time. But when we do, then I really love it, to do it together with people, and this way we are doing it. And but that I should forget him, no. Not even one day. It doesn't happen. It can happen 1 hour or so maybe, but every day is he's there. And then there is a pleasure to do these aritis and these things. I don't know about, but this is the way how I do. But now I've seen my wife all the time here, who lives close to me in the ashram. Maybe we ask something about her, who never met Babaji, or to met Babaji through me. Would you like to say something, Malin? You have to unmute yourself.
So, yes, yeah, I met Bo, not in Babaji business. It was we worked together, and we became a couple. And then he asked me if I want to come with him to Huracan. Yeah, why not? And then if we should marry. we can marry in Harakan. Just what's about marrying in Harakan? Yeah, it's just something little happening. Yeah, just a small process. It's no problem. We can marry in Harakan. Okay, it seems nice, and I would like. I've also been to India before on this over road trip from Stockholm with the bus to India. I went 84, just after Babaji left his body. So he was not there when I was there. But then we went 87. And the first day I came to Harakan, I made Mundan, and I felt I'm on the right place. I'm on the right place. It was like I met, what's his name? I met him in the maybe now it was Karko maybe. He said you looks like you had 10 years of psychotherapy just by doing Mundan. Everything left me so from my shoulders. And then we should do a marriage, be married on the Christmas day. And both said just a little thing, but it was 400 people invited because on the same day, Neela and
Peter Caddy,
they wanted to come to they came to Harakan for marriage. And Mudiraj thought it was good that we could do the same day. I felt Neela didn't think it was a good idea, but she had to follow Muniraj, of course. So it was this marriage together, and it was totally chaotic. It was 4 or 5 priests. Everybody wanted to help, and it was 4, 5, 6, all the villagers. Everybody came. It was very many people. It was it was magic. It was nice. Yeah. And it felt for me right. This is the right place, and it was never a problem. I mean, we went back to Sweden, and we wanted to open an ashram. It took some years. We married 87 in Harakan, and 92 we bought this place. So now, yeah, we've been doing this for 30 years, and totally natural for me.
The truth is that there were other Swedish people who wanted to do ashram before, and I was never interested. So when I got interested in doing an ashram is after I married Mala. This is also the truth. Before I was Baba devotee and we were doing Arti, but to arrange an ashram and do this was never in my interest until we met.
Yeah, so that's my story.
I can tell you a little story about our son and Bo's neighbor, Anita Yogini. She has a daughter, and they were born a couple of months apart. And I think it was probably 86, possibly 87, a couple of years after Babaji had left his body. Anita and me were talking about someone had said something about when Babaji left his body, he spread a bit of his energy to the rest of the world. And so we heard these 2 little children sitting there talking about this somehow. And the little girl said, "Oh, I think I got his heart." And my son said, "I think I got his brain." And it was such a cute little thing that these 2 little kids were picking up. And I think that, it's one of these things that you take something with you and then you share it with others. And that was one of the things as well when I was there once. As I said, I did not know in or out of the ceremonies that we were doing. And of course, Babaji made sure that I had to take the fire around to people after doing the arti. And I had no idea what to do with it. And so I had to whisper to someone that was sitting next to me that, "What do I do with this?" And she just said, "Well, you just share the light with everyone." And it felt like, in a way that I didn't know what it was, but I could somehow share my experiences. I could share what I had anyway. So that was a good thing for me.
Ganil, what did you say your son said that he, what part did your son get?
The brain.
The brain.
The brain, yes, he got the brain, and she got the heart. And it was such a cute little thing they were doing.
And what are they doing now, your kids?
Oh, I don't know. Bo will know more about what Anita's daughter is doing. She's in Sweden.
But your son?
Oh, he's working for the police now. He tried to do a career as a microbiologist, and decided no, he wanted to do more with people than looking inside the body. So he changed his career, and he's a policeman now.
Nice.
In which country?
In
England.
England.
Which country is he in police force? Law
In
enforcement?
In
Sorry?
England, Cambridge, in England.
England.
In Cambridge, England. Thank you.
Yeah. He actually came to Huracan as well. He was doing a round the world tour, and that's when I finally decided that, oh yes, let's go to a meet in India. So I went over to India and I met him there, and it was also one of these things. I felt it was a very important place for me to have been, so I wanted to share it with the rest of the family. My husband was trying to go there, and then the Gulf War broke out, so he was called back, so we couldn't go there. And then at least my son went there once and I think he had a good time there. He was really admired by the Indians. He's quite tall and quite blonde, and they wanted to know everything about cricket and football and so on, all the kids in America. So he was quite popular. But I don't think that, well, he liked going to Huracan, and he liked to hear the stories. He liked to come with me when we were doing our chanting and arti and so on in Stockholm when he was a little baby. But he hasn't really taken up anything more of it, and it feels perfectly all right.
Our daughter Helga, she's our kids are born in the ashram and are used. They are born with arti and everything, and our son is not. He's not coming so much, but our daughter, she's really into Huracan, and she also came to this youth for the youth. What did they call it? You had some
Next
youth
generation.
meeting.
Together.
Yeah, she came for some years, and also she's always coming and doing the drumming and the singing, and that's very nice. A new generation in the ashram. She's taking people to the ashram.
It's interesting to see, the different ways everybody, but also our children and grandchildren, carry Baba in their hearts. My boys are just good men, and they love, they enjoy coming here, but on their own, they don't do arti. They have their own way of. My younger son is a surfer, and he said, "Mom, I don't go to temples. I find God out in the waves when I'm surfing, and so it's all beautiful, and to have a beautiful brain and heart in the police service is a wonderful thing."
But it's also beautiful that they don't feel obligated, and still they come as much as they like. This is, I think there's a beauty in this.
And we talk about going with all my 7 grandchildren and all my kids to Huracan one of these days when they get a little bit older, my grandchildren. But I think one of the questions too is, I heard Pam asking you about how do you keep that, what's your practice now? And so one, maybe doesn't do arti or any of the rituals at home, or goes to the ashram much because she's an 8-hour car ride away or something like that. and you're more close to that. But what about mantra? Is the mantra that Babaji gave to us, or a
Yes.
particular mantra or a prayer that you say inside, is that helpful for you to recall that Babaji is always there, so you don't have to endure so much? I love that story, Bo.
Yes, yes.
That you really, when you want to connect to that presence of love, and yeah.
Yes, I feel that this presence is there, and for me it is very easy. So with this presence, but this presence is supporting me of doing what I need to do, but I still have to do it. So there is still this challenge of do your best according to your ability. But I feel the support in this way. I really feel the support, and it is not difficult for me to feel this or get connected with this. But then performing your karma yoga, this is the challenge. But for me, it's no challenge to feel this connection or to get in contact. This is no challenge for me. But the other is the constant challenge in life, the way I see it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that for me, it's not so much to stay connected as such, but it's more to try to be aware of what Babaji was talking about, basically the true simplicity in love. And I see that as a big challenge, really, to try to live up to on a regular basis. And that's where I feel that the strongest connection. Not that I'm trying to do good things for because Babaji would know in any way or form, but it's more a question for myself that I like those things that he was saying about that, and I like to follow that if I can, which is not always the easiest thing, but it's
And,
there in the back of my mind always.
and long before I even heard about Babaji or even India, I was very interested in ecological questions. And now when we wanted to make this ashram, we bought 10 hectares, or the ashram is 9 hectares, and Mali and I kept 1 hectare. And after we find out that this is extremely very nice ecological part, so we included the authorities there and cut off a piece that we promised never to cut down the trees. And we never planned it to do it. We made a foundation that we made a Babaji foundation. This was suitable because we were Baba devotees, but we made a foundation like this legal foundation. So this beautiful forest will never be cut down. And then when the ecological authorities find out how valuable it is, and they found 18 red listed species, they paid us like something like $50,000 not to do what we never intended to do. And this I feel like a Babaji Leela, and a fantastic connection with my ecologic wishes, and Baba fulfill all the wishes. So we got an ashram, we got this beautiful ecosystem behind the place or the temple where we are building, and we actually got money so we could start to invest, even if it's not fully covered, but it is quite good. This is Baba Leela.
Wonderful, wonderful. Please forgive me for arriving late and leaving early. I say goodbye to you all. Om Namaha Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
So someone else has questions to ask? Or to share a story that might be pertinent to help explain some of the topics we've touched actually quite deeply.
I see Joanne Hongsolo. Is she here?
Mm.
Joanna?
She was
Hi, Joanne.
she she was, I think she went with us to Babaji in 1980, or at least she intended, or is that right?
Joanne, you need to unmute, honey.
I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
yeah. How are you, Bo and Gunnar? It's so great to see you.
Yes.
I just want to share all the things that you're sharing about the non-attachment, the attachment. The stories are so similar. I took a bunch of stories that I had written about Babaji to him. My second trip, and before he left for those last 3 months before he left for Mahasamadhi, and he had the same reaction, Bo, and he just it was just nonchalant, you know. And what I was wondering, you know, I was telling him, I mean, in my mind, I said, you know, do you want me to publish these? And I'm still working on the stories. I got a book going on, and what I realized was exactly what you said. You said exactly my lessons about this non-attachment, you know, to the results of my work. And it's just totally amazing, the parallels of our experiences with Babaji. He could be, and I love the way that you described the way he moved. My God, I've never seen any movement like that in my life. It was like everything was a dance with him, you know, like dancing Shiva. It was the way he moved was really dancing. Everything was deliberate, yet, you know, focused and powerful, like unimaginable. You know, it was just incredible to watch him. And of course, everybody, the whole thing about the ashram was the whole thing. Everybody was talking about, where's Babaji? Well, he's on the Gufa side. I said, no, he's in the ashram. I just left the office. He's in the office. You know, he could be everywhere at once. And it was just so incredible. And I'm so forever grateful to him. You know, I still do puja to Babaji every day, and I've never missed a day. And my own, and Pujari, you've been to my little apartment here in Portland where I was, and you, Ram Lodi, and who else has been there? I don't know, but when we did that, we did a satsang in Portland here, and Peggy was there, of course. Anyway, it's just great to see you both. I love the stories. Just love your stories. Thank you so much. Bole Baba Ki Jai.
Thank you, Joanne.
Yeah, the beauty of Babaji is the magic of how he danced through the ashram. I love how you worded that. It's really true. I think for all of us, the way Babaji moved was male and female, divine, childlike, innocence, beauty, graciousness. It's unimaginable, but it is lovely to hear that all of us have seen the same thing, kind of. We have all seen this divinity move through the ashram, and so innocently and naturally mirroring us, mirroring our deepest fears and our deepest beauties, but in such a delicate and sometimes playful tough. It could be tough, but it would be playful tough. It would never really hurt. It would always be a blessing, whatever Babaji did. And that is, as I hear from all these stories, the same. We saw a similar Babaji. And the beauty also that he was Shakespeare. I love this quote so much, that how many of us have seen how Babaji was Shakespeare, organizing the theater in the Kirtan Hall or around anything. He could be a master Shakespeare. And also I heard that he loved it so much that he had all the books from Shakespeare in the library. That was a thing I only came to know later, but it was necessary that all the books from Shakespeare had to be in the office.
I think it is in Shish Mahal.
In the Shish Mahal? Okay. Well, I've only heard that they were in the ashram. Babaji had to have all the Shakespeare works in the ashram. because I could feel he himself was Shakespeare. You know, the deliberateness, what Joanne just mentioned, that was true. He was so in perfection, like you also expressed, Bo, the perfection that we could see in Babaji. This was nowhere seen, no guru, no nothing we can imagine that can match with that quality of what Babaji expressed. And that's, I think, for Gunel, that was enough to change her life and to have her attraction and focus probably every day. You're with Babaji just because you've experienced that divine presence. And some need to do puja and make ashrams and do other things, but I love it how Gunel, she doesn't need anything. She's met the miracle and it transformed her heart, and thinks she is in her heart every second with Babaji. And I know more devotees like this. I know my brother met Babaji and he was completely crying, overwhelmed that after Baba Samadhi, he didn't want to have nothing to do with ashrams and things, but in his heart, he's every day busy with Baba. So I love how you are expressing your relation with Babaji in the now. And if you can send some more messages out there, I would love it if you can do that, Gunel. From how is Babaji alive in your daily life?
I think one thing to say is that I feel it's more on a comfortable level these days, because when I was there, it was too intense. It was too intense. So I feel that now that, yes, I can sort of be with him on a level I can control to some extent, if that makes sense.
May I address a problem among us who met him? The problem is that all of us who met him, this form was so beautiful, so we could be attached to this form, or it is so easy to be attached. And he will not come back in that form, exactly that form, at least not according to Muniraji, but all of us who met him like this, we say, come back in that form. This is a problem, or at least I'm talking about myself, but maybe I'm talking about you guys also, who were really attached by this beautiful, beautiful, fantastic form.
Yeah, then again, I would say that I'm when I first heard that he was no longer with us, yes, of course, I planned to go back to India. I planned to try to go and see him again, but then it was like, okay, so this is the way it is now, and yeah, it's just to change my perception of the whole thing, and see it that, yes, it's not going to be the same as before. And somehow it felt like, yeah, I had quite a lot taken with me anyway, so it was fine. But it was one thing I wanted to add when you said all these good things that you thought about Babaji. One thing that I really liked as well was his sense of humor. I really liked his violent way of throwing oranges or sweets or things to people when as prasad, and he could really do this thing. He was really aiming like, a little kid trying to hit the head of someone sitting there, really worshipping him, and blowing, there was an orange on your head. And I really liked that he was not worried about joking around with things.
Once I was sitting in the temple and there were maybe 20, 30 people, and Babaji was sitting there. This must have been in 82. Suddenly Gunel has sent him stickers, round stickers saying Om Namah Shivaya, like a roll. Huh? Somebody came with this roll of the stickers on. And suddenly he spent half an hour of pasting stickers all around the throne and the temple of Gunnar's Om Namah Shivaya stickers. When we left the hall, there were like 50 stickers Om Namah Shivaya all around the throne. He was just playing with them. I think you intended them for the office. But
Well,
he
I
had,
wanted to have them to use as just stickers on things. And he was also very kind because he drew another Om sign and sent back to me. So I
Right.
could do a proper sticker. That's how we
Right.
did that.
Yes. Theatretical. Isn't that histrionic? Did you know this English word?
No.
No, I did not
No,
either.
no.
I
Never
had
came
to,
across anyone I needed to use the word for.
yes, but German Maltese translation of German Maltese book, it says histrionic, and even not knowing the word, the understanding was fantastic. I think the way she's described it. Always do something. Never miss a chance for a party, a spiritual party.
I remember one time I brought Babaji a fan from Japan. And in Japan, they always package things so beautifully. And this particular package was a gold, gold foil, but most of it was glass. So you could actually see through it. I think it was glass, maybe it was plastic, I don't even know, but something so you could see the actual sandalwood fan in it. And just like you were all talking about the attachment, I was always attached to how he responded. And I mean, I just felt like, I was a real kindergartner, preschooler there. And so, I wanted to see that he would take out the fan and smell how beautiful it was and how costly it was. And no, he just set the fan aside. He took the package, this top part, and he had some string because he would always save all the wrapping from everything. So he was saving the string, or maybe it was the rubber bands he would save on his pinky finger from the shop so he could give it back to the shopkeeper to use them again. Talk about ecological. But so it was either rubber bands or what, but somehow he made 2 holes in the end of that sandalwood fan box, which is like this. And he made 2 holes. And then he called one villager up that apparently very much needed glasses. And so he put them on him like this with the rubber bands or the string around his ears. And he was so happy that, and who knows, maybe he could see better. But this is just such like you said, the histrionics or whatever word you use, and then the teaching me that, just drop your expectations. This is ridiculous. He's, in the sense, being very practical at this moment, helping a poor villager with the packaging that in the West we would probably just throw away. So that was another wonderful experience of one of his many, many times that would blow my mind. For sure.
But I think that's the way Babaji communicated the love with all of us now. His playfulness was such an easy channel for him to touch our hearts, that we become a little bit childlike, that we become a little bit open to that playground. That Babaji, every day he created a playground in Hirakan or in the temple or in the riverbed, through which we could open a little bit. Otherwise, it was so, in one way, also frightening and scary, the energy around Babaji. But his playfulness made that we could, almost go ourselves a little bit in a relaxed, childish mode to say, oh, everything is playful. But it's the love. Baba just loved us through this way. Otherwise, if he would sit there as a serious yogi, we would probably after 15 minutes want a cup of chai and go away. But he became playful, so we could spend hours with him in the kirtan hall. So I see it as a way just to pour his love into whatever was around him, if it's an animal or a human being or a bird. But I see it, the playfulness was a way to love, to show his love. And I think that's an inspiration for me even today to see, well, yeah, that's really a way to express love, no, in that playfulness. It's so beautiful that it came up in this satsang so strongly. Yeah.
But Pujari, when you talk about this with chai and everything, once we were singing in the temple and this was in the morning and everybody was a bit tired to be up like 4 o'clock, and there was a very bad kirtan. Even though Babaji was there, everybody was going, Om Namah Shivaya. And Baba said, stop! Everybody go here, sing shop, have chai. And people were very, very confused and said, but Baba, we're singing. Why you want us to take chai? It's, how can you sing about God when you think about chai?
Yeah.
So he sent everybody away. He was reading our thoughts all the time, all the time, all the
And
time.
mirroring and reading and mirroring and reading, naturally, playfully. Yeah.
Incredible, incredible. And Hari Govind spent so much time, and I had a privilege to spend a lot of satsang with him. And many times he said, how can you explain? This was, how can you really explain? It's not easy, but we could share this feeling. How can you really explain? In a situation like this with many people, and then it becomes easier. Otherwise,
Little by
it
little.
is easy. Otherwise, it is not so easy.
I think also for me, it's been this thing of accepting that there are things outside of my reach, so to say, that never to think that I worked out a situation, never to be too certain about anything, because there are things that I can't explain, and I haven't met anyone that can really explain them. And so that's been a sort of opening for me, that to see beyond the obvious, and to see that don't be too sure about things, because there might be something that you haven't learned yet, or you don't understand, or something like that. So I think that's one of the things I've taken with me.
When you were talking about that you were paranoid that he would think that he was thinking you were the wrong person, and then when he found out who you really were, you were going to get sent away. So when I went to Babaji, so I was with you in Vrindavan in 81, and we went to Delhi. And then I also, that first trip, never came to Harakan because he was going, I think, someplace else, and I just had a few days left. So I came back in 82 as well with my children for the summer. And we arrived in the river bottom. Some people have heard this story. And he sent somebody down to greet us as we were walking up toward the ashram. And they said, come to the Gufa side, to the side that they were building the 9 temples on. And there was just like a cement platform. There wasn't much there yet in 81. And Baba's there. I thought, and I sort of washed up a little, and we went up. And there's Babaji. And it's Gora Devi and Babaji and maybe 1-2 other people. And he's mixing some kind of a sweet punch or something. I don't know what it was, some kind of drink. And as we sat, he was so gracious. And he poured it into cups, and he gave me one and one to my 2 sons. And in that moment, I was just thinking, he must have me confused with somebody important. What's he doing this for? Because on tour, there are thousands of people around, and, hardly got much time or anything. So it was the exact same feeling. It's like, he must have me confused when he finds out who he's gonna, or something like that. So it's this feeling, I guess, for me, it was a lot of inadequacy and not being good enough. And then always wanting him to pay attention to me and let me carry his umbrella. So I wanted it. I wasn't hiding. I was trying to run and get his umbrella if there was a speck of rain, so that he would say, oh, walk with me. Because that was that's what I needed to feel okay. So, like I said, I was pretty much on the kindergarten level of just wanting that that love, that amazing love that he had to give us, that said, I love you just as you are, even when you do things. You know, I've shared stories of dropping his bag over the side of the mountain, and you know, and hearing him say hopeless lady, but the love was just always there. And that's what I just wanted so much. So thank you for sharing that.
I also had an experience when he got very angry, and I had found a poem that was said that it was Babaji written the poem, and so following this thing with the stickers, I printed it on a very nice piece of paper, and I took it to Herakan, and I wanted to ask him if I could print them up and distribute them as Babaji's poem. And I was very hesitant to ask him, but then someone had sent the poem in a letter, and I think it was Shastriji or someone like that was reading it, and then they would say, "Oh, it was such a beautiful poem." And so I thought, well, okay, I can ask him. And so I went up, and he immediately started shouting, "What's this? What's this?" And someone had to come and explain and translate to him. And he started shouting and shouting about, when Babaji speaks, you can print it. When Babaji doesn't speak, you can't say a word. And he was really shouting to everyone around there. And at the same time, he was scratching my knee with his toes, like, you know, don't get too upset now. It's not just for you or something like that. I don't know, but unfortunately for me that he was doing this. Otherwise, I think I would have run away that day, thinking, oh, he finally found out I wasn't who he thought I was. So there we are.
And because of that he was joking so much, you never really knew either. It was like, I mean, I think this was the third time I went to see him, and I felt very good, and I was up there, and I was, first time I came after a long time, and I made a pranam, and then he leaned over and he said, "You are the son of a fucker." And I thought, this is really, well, maybe everybody is except you, Baba, but I didn't dare to say it. And so I was really confused. And then Raghu was standing beside, and he saw I was confused, and he said, "Bo," he said, "fakir." He said fakir, not fucker. It was really hilarious situation. And this was because he could have said it, right? He could have said, "You are a son of a fucker." He didn't, but anyway. So
I've got to go here in a minute. I just wanted to add one thing, that it's been really lovely. And also just that Baba gives us opportunities in these playful, joyous ways to really love ourselves, love what's inside of ourselves, love that innermost nature. He's shining so much on us that he's just really in a way trying to teach us, hey, you can do this with yourself too. You could love yourself. You could be a better person. You could be all these things you want to be deep inside. And he just was so relentless in his teaching of that to us every moment, to have us live fearlessly. Didn't mean we didn't have fears, but to not be ruled by our fears, to not be ruled by our desires, just to be ruled by the love that's in him, and that we saw so much from him, and that he shined on us, all in different ways and in different ways that it would unfold for us years later. You know, I really love what you said, Bo, about, you know, you can either listen to Babaji or you can endure, and one will lead to the other. I know that's not exactly how you said it, but that's how I heard it. Anyway, lovely. Thanks so much for the satsangs. And
Love you, Hiraman.
Thank you, Sats. Thank you, Firman. And next week we will have, another very interesting one. It'll be Aditya Raj Kapoor. So the son of Shami Kapoor, who any Indian would know who that is, a famous movie star. And I think it's going to be very telling because he stayed here for a few days and he told some stories about, a rich young movie star son. Babaji invited him to Harakan, I think, for quite some time in the summer. And he spent a few months with Babaji in his little simple ashram, I think probably in the late 70s. And, but I'm sure there'll be more stories about his life today. And he's also just written a book. So we hope that you can join us. And then the following week, we'll have Filippo from Italy, and maybe Paolo will join him again. I never say his name right, but so it goes on and on. Next week will be 1 hour earlier, so set your time properly. But I do want to take this, what, Bo?
Yeah, I was thinking of these other people in Sweden who might be wanting. I tell them just to contact you.
Exactly, it'd be lovely, just lovely. And then sometimes we also have a more open one where just many people share. And then we also sometimes have one that, anyway, it's continually evolving. So it's wonderful.
However you do it, I tell them to contact you if they like.
Sure, that would be great. Anybody. And we love to hear everybody's stories, whether you met Babaji in physical form or not. And I really...
Can I share one thing? You wanted to end, right?
I think it's about time. So give us an ending story and then I'll make a formal ending.
The ending is a quote from Loknath, which I liked because we had very many nice satsang together. And this is like a meditation, which will be the end. Loknath said, I would like to see myself the way he saw me. This is a nice meditation for all of us. When he looked at you, what did he see? I would like to know that.
Very beautiful. Good thing to pause on. Thank you. And thank you, Ganal and Bo, for taking this time, and Mala for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ganel and Bo, very much. Thank you.
Yes, beautiful satsang again. Thank you all.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's great to reconnect.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bole Baba ki jai, Jagannath ki jai.